Hello, good afternoon. This is Al 24 News. I'm Rahim Kashur and to the headlines. At least 70 people killed in one of the largest tornado outbreaks in U.S. history, as a warning that toll may exceed 100. Residents of the New Caledonia have begun voting in the third and final vote of independence from France after a fraught campaign and amidst fear of violence. Tens of thousands of people have gathered in Austria's capital Vienna to protest against mandatory COVID vaccines and home confinement order for those who have not yet received the jabs. The national team Algeria team successfully managed to secure a spot in the FIFA Arab Cup semi-finals to face Qatar after beating Morocco. Good afternoon, those who are today's headlines. First of all, in our top stories, Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad, Ramtan Al-Mamra, held a working session with Croatia's Minister of Foreign and European Affairs, Gordon Radman, who is on an official two-day visit to Algeria. It is actually the first visit of its kind since the creation of the Republic of Croatia.
This meeting and this visit of the Croatian Foreign Affairs Minister to Algeria is one of a kind. Algerian Foreign Affairs Minister has already visited the capital Zagreb in Croatia before. However, this first visit comes after political meetings and discussions about bilateral cooperation.
In this context, Mr. Al-Mamra expressed his wish to see more of these meetings between economic actors from two countries and contribute to the activation of the Council and give bilateral relations the economic dimension desired to move toward a greater development of relations between the two countries and include a number of sectors where Croatia has something to offer in terms of added value.
As not only Croatia, but as a member of the European Union, we see Algeria as an important partner and which plays a stabilizing also role in the region. And for us, it's very important to closely cooperate with the southern neighborhood. And being also a member of the such formats of Mediterraneans, we are member of Union for Mediterranean, and we met also in Barcelona.
And to grasp the topic better, joining me live in the studio, our own reporter Islam Seed, who was on the spot of the event. Islam, what is the latest over there? What was happening? Can you explain?
So, hello, Abdurrahim. We've been in the Chamber of Commerce in Algiers, which held the conference between the Croatian and the Algerian foreign ministers, and in which Mr. Ramtan Al-Mamra, the Algerian foreign minister, welcomed the cooperation, and he's looking forward to developing this partnership between the two countries in terms of economy, in terms of agriculture, in terms of tourism. And also this conference was marked by the presence of major businessmen from both countries to work on the new plan. And also there was a meeting last week between the Algerian Minister of Transport and the ambassador to, Croatian ambassador to Algiers, who stated that there is a possibility to open a direct, airline between the both capitals of our two countries. It's worth mentioning that the two foreign ministers headed to the presidential palace to talk more about this cooperation with the Algerian President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune.
Islam C, thank you so much for your explanation.
You're
Much
welcome,
appreciated.
Sir. You're welcome, sir.
To a different matter, at least 83 people were killed in 5 regions in the central and southern United States due to tornadoes and storms, and counted 70 dead in Kentucky alone. Pictures and videos on social media showed buildings destroyed by the storm, twisted iron bars, displaced trees and stones were scattered in the streets, leaving behind destroyed houses. Biden also considered tornadoes that left dozens of dead in the United States as an unimaginable tragedy.
I also approved the emergency declaration that was requested a couple of hours ago by Governor Beshear of Kentucky. That's going to accelerate federal emergency assistance for Kentucky right now when it's urgently needed. I want folks in all these states to know we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together, and the federal government is not going to walk away. This is one of those times when we aren't Democrats or Republicans. Sounds like hyperbole, but it's real. We're all Americans. We stand together as the United States of America. And so I say to all the victims, you're in our prayers, and all those first responders, emergency personnel, and everyone helping their fellow Americans, that this is the right thing to do at the right time, and we're going to get through this.
The United States, Mexico, and several regional countries will coordinate to arrest the network of human smugglers responsible for the truck accident that killed dozens of migrants, according to U.S. Embassy in Mexico. Marwa, on what follow?
US and Mexico have announced a working group to combat people smuggling in the wake of a truck crash that resulted in the deaths of 54 people and the injury of dozens in the southern Mexican state of Chiapas, in which the majority is said to be Central American migrants. Foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mexico, Marcelo Ebrard, said the group would be made up of Mexico, Guatemala, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, and the US. He also said that the working group would investigate and learn from the crash and help bring to justice the people smugglers involved in the case. U.S. Embassy announced the creation of an action group tasked with investigating, identifying, and apprehending the smugglers involved in organizing a trailer overcrowded with more than 160 people. The vehicle was reportedly speeding when it flipped on a sharp bend and hit a pedestrian bridge on a main road leading to the capital. The number of migrants traveled in the truck reported to be as high as 200. However, some of the bloodied passengers escaped for fear of being detained by immigration authorities. In recent years, thousands of migrants escaping poverty and violence in Central America have traveled through Mexico to reach the U.S. border. They often face dangerous conditions, including transport in crowded trucks organized by smugglers known as coyotes.
On Saturday, during the G7 meeting in the United Kingdom, the United States restated Russia's call to contain tensions with Ukraine, stressing that major Western powers are ready to impose severe sanctions on Moscow in the event of an attack. The U.S. confirmed also that it is still possible to resolve the new Ukrainian crisis through diplomacy. The United States has made a deal with Greece related to naval frigates worth more than $6 billion, in addition to $2 billion costs to upgrade 4 Miko-class frigates that Greece already possesses, in which this acts seen as a direct challenge to France. Islam C, on what follow.
Another stab in the back. This is how France described the agreement, which has been made by Greece and the US. The State Department on December 10th announced to make a deal worth $6.9 billion of 4 Lockheed Martin combat frigates, known as multi-mission surface combatant ships, in addition to $2.5 billion approved as part of the Lockheed Martin program to enhance Greece's Meko-class frigate and weapon systems and electronics as well. BAE Systems and VCE would be the key contractors.
Strategic partnership has reached an unprecedented level by enhancing cooperation in many areas such as enforcement, counter-terrorism, energy, economy, trade, culture, and people-to-people contacts. The relevant stakeholders will address later today ways of expanding them even further. The revision of the Mutual Defence Cooperation Agreement we will sign in a few minutes is symbolically and substantially the foundation of our long-term partnership.
Greece has submitted a letter of request to the US, outlining its needs for NATO accession talks. The State Department approval represents the maximum that could be signed into agreement. Despite State Department approval, the notification does not imply that a contract has been signed or that negotiations have ended. The new commercial deal is seen as a menace faces France after the United States wrested away an enormous submarine contract for Australia in a shock announcement in September 15th that jeopardized relations between Washington, Paris, and Canberra, in which the latter discarded a long-standing deal worth billions of euros to buy conventional French submarines for U.S. nuclear-powered vessels.
The Pacific territory of New Caledonia voted on Sunday in a third and final survey on independence from France. Yet, the polls was marked by a boycott from the main independence parties, who said the coronavirus pandemic prevented a fair ballot. According to the island's High Commission, turnout was sharply down on the two previous polls, with just 41.60% voting by 5 p.m. compared with 79.63% at the stage in the last year's vote. 3 people were killed and 6 were missing after an explosion caused multiple residential buildings to collapse on the Italian island of Sicily. Brava News amid natural gas pipe explosion around 8:30 p.m. local time. The captain of the local firefighters confirmed the fatalities but said 2 people had been found alive under rubble after the blast. 2 years after the detection of the first coronavirus case, people still questioning the end of this COVID-19. Omicron can give us a glimpse of hope and save humanity from this pandemic. Nabil Khazini clarified.
As we learn more about the Omicron coronavirus variant and Delta continues to cause COVID-19 cases to rise around the world, new measures are being taken. In the UK, Boris Johnson announces Plan B restrictions, including face masks in more settings, COVID passes in large venues and working from home guidance.
We will reintroduce the guidance to work from home. Second, from this Friday, we will further extend the legal requirement to wear a face mask to most public indoor venues, including theatres and cinemas. We'll also make the NHS COVID pass mandatory for entry into nightclubs and venues where large crowds gather.
But will these measures really help in controlling the spread of the virus? Some have called it a battle, and experts have their opinion.
Well, it's going to be very hard to control. It's much more transmissible than Delta. But the silver lining in that cloud is that it may be less severe. So a losing battle may be not the right term. It may be actually to our advantage. We have to wait and see. The data will come through in the next few days.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends booster doses for all adults who received their second dose at least 6 months ago. Vaccine makers have known for months now that the immunity vaccines elicit against COVID-19 can wane over time, leading to the need for a booster dose. The boosters appear to restore immunity to where it was initially.
What we're seeing with Omicron is similar to the story with Delta over the summer. The variant has changed a bit, which means that the vaccine that we all received, which was generated against the original version of the virus, isn't quite as effective. But it's still very effective, especially with our cellular immune defense.
While experts debate the efficacy of booster shots against COVID-19, thousands of people in many cities around the world gather to voice their opposition against making vaccination for the unvaccinated people mandatory. Some demonstrations turned into riot and authorities used forces to control the chaos. The new German health minister Karl Lauterbach seems to be optimistic that the world will defeat the coronavirus and will be better equipped for further pandemics. 2 years after the first coronavirus was detected in China, the world today is still split as to what is the best way humanity should take to tame this pandemic and to make an end of it.
Thousands of protesters have converged upon Sydney and Melbourne CBD to demonstrate against vaccine mandates, including Victoria's new pandemic law introduced by the government. Protesters gathered at the Parliament House on Spring Street in Melbourne about 12 p.m. before rallying down Bow Street chanting "Free Victoria." Crowds were carrying flags and banners, some of which read "Reclaim the Line." and together we can stop vaccine passports. Over 40,000 people marched in Vienna streets shouting slogans and clashing with police to protest against the continued lockdown and the plans to make COVID-19 immunization mandatory. Vienna police said that deployed 1,400 officers to handle the demonstrators and ensure COVID-19 preventive measures, and that some of the rebellions were detained. Thousands of citizens in the Argentina capital Buenos Aires arguing their government not to sign any kind of debt restriction government and argument with the International Monetary Fund. Hussein Burkan exemplify more in this report.
Thousands protested in the Argentine capital Buenos Aires demanding a no-debt restructuring agreement with the International Monetary Fund. Demonstrators crowded into the Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires on Saturday, carrying banners calling for no deal with the International Monetary Fund and other banners of the country's largest social and left-wing organizations, spreading out raising anti-IMF slogans over loudspeakers, stating that the International Monetary Fund in this country has always brought more misery and more dependency. The Argentine government is in the midst of negotiations with the International Monetary Fund to restructure the $44 billion it owes to the Global Fund. The loan dates back to 2018 when the then-President Mauricio Macri signed a $57 billion agreement with the international lender of last resort, making it the largest loan in the IMF's history. About $44 billion was distributed, but the President Alberto Fernandez, who took office in 2020, rejected the rest and proceeded to renegotiate the loan repayment terms.
Staying in Europe, thousands of Serbs have taken to the streets for 3 consecutive days to demonstrate against pollution caused by heavy industries and mining companies that continue to mine for lithium, which does a lot of damage to the environment. The demonstrators closed the main road in the capital, Belgrade, and other cities and towns throughout the Balkan country. Environmental groups are willing to put green issues on the political agenda ahead of the elections next year. Today, India Prime Minister Narendra Modi's personal tweets account was hacked once again by cryptocurrency scammers, with a tweet from them saying that the state considers cryptocurrency as illegal, knowing that India forbids that use of bitcoins is 2018. The account is now restored and the tweet have been deleted. Zionist defense minister claimed that Vienna nuclear negotiations have not made any progress and informed Washington of military preparation to attack Iran. A senior Iranian military said that any aggression will cost a heavy price.
On Saturday, Defense Minister Gantz ordered his army to prepare for a possible military attack on Iran and informed the Biden's administration about the preparation. On his trip to the U.S., Gantz attempted to bring the USA by his side and to convince it to put more pressure on Iran to retreat from its nuclear program, confirming that the Iran nuclear talks did not succeed and that European countries are losing patience.
I look forward to deepening our dialogue and cooperation vis-à-vis Iran, including the topics of joint military readiness to face Iran and to stop its regional aggression and nuclear aspiration.
Gantz said that he agreed with Blinken and Austin during a meeting to develop their joint military action against Iran.
We share Israel's deep concerns about the Iranian government's destabilizing actions, including its support for terrorism, its missile program, and its alarming nuclear advances. Mr. Minister, we are completely aligned in our commitment to preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. This is a national security interest of the United States and Israel and the world.
The latter observed that the U.S. government did not set deadlines for when it will abandon Vienna discussions, but is confident that the U.S. will begin to seriously consider a military option if no improvements will be made. As stated by a senior defense official, Iran is close to boost uranium required to build a nuclear bomb, and acting against Tehran before it exceeds that barrier. As a response to US and Zionist declarations which clearly seem to want to sabotage a nuclear Iran, a senior Iranian military official said to an Iranian news agency that any aggression towards Iranian missiles will cost a heavy price.
Palestinians in villages in the West Bank have voted in municipal polls on Saturday amid increasing frustration with President Mahmoud Abbas' 86 after the cancelled promised parliamentary and presidential election. Hamas spokesman Abdul Latif Al-Kanu told the Associated Press that the group wants parliamentary and presidential election and considers holding municipal votes alone break of earlier agreements. He said this vote does not satisfy the inspiration of needs of the Palestinian people. The recent renovation of Vienna's significant natural history museum collections provided curators with a new test of how to display its vast trove of human medical remains, some dating back more than 2 centuries, without crossing modern red lines of ethics and good taste. The collection of around 50,000 human body parts was first conceived in 1960 to be help train medical students. Such galleries raise tricky questions over whether the public good compensates moral issues such as human dignity, power, and exploitation.